Grow rich in all things while you sleep. Although every chapter in this book is important, this one will prove to be the keystone supporting all the others. May I suggest that you do not read this chapter hurriedly, unless you are in a position to relax thoroughly and read slowly and thoughtfully. It is better you lay the book aside until you can read and absorb what you read. I also suggest that before reading further, you reread the first few pages of chapter 1, which gives an interpretation of riches. Then you will fully understand what I mean when I say, grow rich in all things while you sleep. Unless you do grow rich in all things, you will not be enjoying a well-balanced life. The chapter you're reading now will show you how to make full use of the powers of your creative mind, particularly when your conscious mind is in abeyance, asleep. Your creative mind never sleeps. It is awake from the time of your birth until you leave this plane of existence. Without conscious guidance, it takes care of all the involuntary operations of your body. From the food you eat, it extracts the necessary elements for blood, bone, tissue, and energy. It keeps your blood in circulation. It supplies fresh oxygen to the lungs through the breathing. And these are by no means all the responsibilities of the creative mind. Your creative mind accepts all thoughts of the conscious mind as instructions and acts upon them. The creative mind, I've said several times before, can reason independently of the conscious mind. So we find that the creative mind is not only in charge of all the involuntary functions of the body, but it also does the big job of following instructions from the conscious mind. And in carrying out those instructions, it must necessarily be capable of reasoning. The conscious mind is not the storehouse of memory. In fact, information contained in the conscious mind is only that which is in use. There is a constant flow of information coming from the creative mind as it is needed by the conscious mind. Here's a very simple illustration. Suppose you should engage a carpenter to do a repair job on your house. He would inspect the place, then bring with him only those tools he would need: a saw, hammer, auger, etc. He would not get a huge van and bring with him every tool and machine he had in his shop. It is the same with your two minds. The conscious mind will bring in only the information you need to enable you to carry out the work you're doing at the time. Now, sometimes there is a roadblock, and when facts fail to come into consciousness, we call this forgetting. These facts will not come into consciousness until the conscious mind gives the creative mind instructions to locate the facts through some such remark as, "It will come to me in a moment." Never use a negative such as, "I have forgotten." This is just the same as consciously instructing your creative mind to do nothing about it. As I've already said, the creative mind has reasoning faculties independent of the conscious mind, but with this difference. The conscious mind, in making a decision, can base its decision either on facts already stored within the creative mind, or on facts which it finds through research outside the creative mind. The decision, therefore, may come from existing facts, newly acquired facts, or a combination of both. The reasoning of the creative mind is confined to the facts and information already contained within it. This is important to know and remember. Decisions reached through the reasoning of the creative mind will be good or faulty depending on the type of information it contains. If your mind leans heavily toward the negative side, your decisions will be negative in their nature. If your mind leans towards the positive, your decisions will be positive in their nature. By way of illustration, suppose you had the opportunity to acquire a business of your own. You might decide to call upon your creative mind for a decision as to whether or not to accept the offer. Before retiring at night, you might hold a thought as such. Tonight, while I am asleep, my creative mind will work on my problem and give me a decision when I awaken in the morning. If you have a creative mind which leans towards the negative, you will be apt to get a decision something like this. No, I don't think I'd better tackle this business. I have not had very good luck in the past with my ventures. This one would probably cause me to lose money on it. No, I had better stick to my present job, as poor as it is. On the other hand, if your creative mind is definitely on the positive side, most likely your decision will run something like this. Boy, this is just the break I've been waiting for. With much study and not being afraid to work, I know I can put it over in a big way. My decision is yes. With this illustration, you can easily understand why it was suggested in an earlier chapter that you hold to the thought, I can be a success, until it establishes an impenetrable layer of positiveness in your creative mind. How to make your creative mind work for you. If you wanted an errand boy to do something for you, what would you do? You would merely give him the proper instruction. If you wished him to go to the post office and mail a letter, you tell him to do so. And with perfect certainty that he would do just that. You dismiss it from your mind and think no more about it. You wouldn't doubt his ability to do so, nor would you doubt his willingness to do so. You would instinctively know that the errand would be done. You can give your creative mind instructions with the same carefree certainty. Suppose you needed a large sum of money for some project, or to meet an obligation. You would hold a thought such as this. I will be guided in thought and action towards the solution of my problem. It will be easy and fun to get the amount of money needed. Two specific things would happen quickly. One, you would lose the feeling of doubt as to whether or not you could obtain the money. There would be a feeling of assurance that within a short period of time, the needed money would be available. Thoughts would begin flowing into your conscious mind, not only telling you what to do to get the money, but actually inspiring you to take immediate steps to obtain it. Here again, I must repeat a statement made before. Your creative mind works best when your conscious mind is either in abeyance, asleep, or pleasantly occupied. The chairman of the board of one of this country's largest corporations once said, I can't possibly do all the work coming to me in 12 months of the year, but I can in 10. This man knew something about the operation of the creative mind. He realized that it worked best while the conscious mind was either in abeyance or pleasantly occupied. He would take frequent trips on his yacht. Before leaving, he would instruct his creative mind as to its duties during his sail. He would take the problem or problems and would suggest that while he was pleasantly occupied as a mariner, his creative mind would find the answers for him. Invariably, upon his return to his desk, all he would have to do would be to put into force those ideas flowing into his consciousness. When the palatial yacht of the late J.P. Morgan was completed and ready for its trial cruise, I was invited to go aboard. It was my good fortune to have Mr. Morgan take me on an inspection tour throughout the boat. In his personal cabin, I observed a specially constructed card table. The top of the table was counterbalanced so that it would remain stationary no matter how the ship might roll. J.P. Morgan told me that whenever he had to make a decision and the thought would not come to him as to the right decision to make, he'd put the problem entirely out of his mind by getting a deck of cards and playing solitaire for an hour. After finishing the game, he told me the right decision would be crystal clear in his mind. Whether Mr. Morgan realized it or not, he was putting his creative mind to work for him. While he played cards, his creative mind, with its reasoning faculties, would consider his problem, calmly working out the logical solution. Robert Updegraff, in his book, Putting Your Subconscious Mind to Work for You, said, "It is not so much a lack of brain power or business capacity or acumen that keeps men from progressing faster towards their objectives and towards a solid position in the world. It is rather because they take only half a mind into business with them. The result is that they work their conscious mind too hard, too many hours of the day, and too many days of the year. We feel virtuous because we work so hard and so conscientiously that we are tired, whereas we should feel ashamed that we work so hard, make so little progress, and we are very weary of mind." Mr. Updegraff meant by half a mind that we attempt to do all of our work consciously without taking advantage of the tremendous reservoir power at our command in the creative mind. From this moment onward, you should begin forming the habit of putting the creative mind to work for you. This servant is on the job 24 hours a day. As you learn to use that great force, that endless source of intelligence at your disposal, you will find that consciously you have more time for recreation and enjoyment. Have you ever observed that those people who accomplish the most are the ones who seem to work the least? The President of the United States will usually take several vacation periods each year. We all know the vast amounts of work resting on the shoulders of the chief executive. Heads of large organizations will as a rule take at least 2 vacations each year, yet we know the responsibilities they have. Let me crystallize the dominant idea of this chapter. The creative mind does its best work while the conscious mind is either in abeyance or pleasantly occupied. This gives you the happy news that to be successful, it is really essential that you take time for enjoyable diversion instead of working harder and longer. This is possible by utilizing the forces of the creative mind to do your constructive thinking and planning, while your conscious mind puts into action the results from the efforts of your creative mind. If I work my creative mind 24 hours each day, won't I always be mentally tired, you might ask? The answer is no. Right now, your creative mind is working 24 hours each day. If it is not being directed into positive, constructive channels through constructive thinking, it will be working against you by obeying negative thoughts. There are 2 important points I would like to emphasize at this time. 1. Your creative mind, if permitted to, will direct you in your work, making it better, easier to perform, and far more pleasant. You can, at will, direct your creative mind to assist you in the solving of problems, to help you make the right decisions, to create ways and means of great achievement. At this point, I suggest that before proceeding, you lay the book aside for a few moments and think about the things you've already learned. If by chance you have found yourself growing tense through the emotional excitements these thoughts might have stirred within you, relax. In the pages to follow, you will be giving a routine enabling you to begin to live according to these principles. And it is important that you approach them under ideal conditions. In a previous chapter, you were told that you do not become proficient in any work until your creative mind takes over. Now you will learn how to help your creative mind help you. Number 1, know that your creative mind is occupied every hour of the day and that it is working for or against you. Number 2, know that your creative mind is working for you because you hold nothing but positive, constructive thoughts. Number 3, be specific in the instructions you give your creative mind. If it is better health you want, know that your creative mind is directing the glands and organs of your body to bring you better health, and that thoughts will come into your consciousness, directing you to the things necessary to promote better health. If you desire further advancement in your work, know that your creative mind will direct you to take the steps necessary to assume advancement. If problems stand between you and your happiness, know that your creative mind, with its reasoning faculties, will provide a practical solution for you. Know that your creative mind stands ready and able and willing to assist you in any way you may desire. Number 4, free your mind from worry. As you now know, your creative mind is the seat of intelligence. If you have been thoughtful as you read these pages, you will know that the maximum amount of intelligence which one may have consciously is nothing at all compared to the amount we all have in our creative minds. Worry prevents you from doing the things which would provide the means to prevent the worry. This is literally true. To worry is to doubt the intelligence and power of your creative mind. How can I keep from worrying when I have so many problems, you may ask? The answer to this question is simple indeed. Worrying will not help the problem in the least. It will make it worse. Instead of worrying, take the time which you might use for worrying and devote it constructively to working out ways and means of overcoming the problem. Number 5, have faith. Make certain you are not merely wishing for better conditions through your creative mind. Sense the feeling of self-mastery which comes when you fully understand the truth of the statement made earlier, to the effect that the conscious mind is the master, the creative mind is the servant. A worried little woman once came to me for counsel regarding her problems. She could not get along with her husband. She received practically no money for clothing and had no chance to earn money because of the time required to care for her children. She definitely felt that my teachings were for the other fellow, not for her. She considered her case hopeless. She was emphatic in saying that she could find no time to study for self-improvement. I told her that the answers to her problems were contained in her creative mind, and that if she would have faith in it, she would find happiness. My talk for over an hour or more seemed to make no impression upon her. So set was she in her own opinions. But 6 months later, she came back to me, and she had changed so amazingly that I did not recognize her. She had difficulty in making me remember the sorrowful creature she had been on her first visit to me. This woman did accept the thought that her creative mind held the answers to her problems. So she proved it by giving her creative mind an opportunity to solve them. She started by knowing that her creative mind would guide her to do the necessary things to enable her to find harmony with her husband. She began to visualize a fine wardrobe and knew she would obtain it. She knew that the problem of rearing her children would cease to be a problem. This woman related with marked enthusiasm that her married life was now ideal. She had plenty of fine garments in her wardrobe, and her children were now a joy instead of a care. And that was not all. With her blessings and freedoms from worry, she began to feel and look far younger than she had before. If I had cited this case earlier in this book, it would have appeared too good to be true. But with what you have learned so far, the results obtained by this woman are only normal and to be expected by those who make use of the creative mind. Now your magic formula. We can now focus the knowledge gained so far in this chapter on its title, Grow Rich in All Things While You Sleep. Five rules are given here for you to follow in gaining full and satisfying cooperation from your creative mind. Number 1. Before retiring, relax thoroughly, both mentally and physically. Number 2. Think of your problem. Think it through, but do not fear it. If you were to give a job to another person, you would have explained what you wanted done. This is true with your creative mind. You are about to give it a special assignment. So it is necessary that you have clearly in mind just what it is you desire from your creative mind. Do not fear it, because you will be turning it over to an intelligence far greater than the intelligence of your conscious mind. Number 3. Gain a success attitude. If you have developed faith in your creative mind, it will be easy to have a success attitude. You will know that it is able, ready, and willing to serve you. Number 4. After you have gone this far, remove all thoughts of the problem from your conscious mind, knowing that the solution will be forthcoming at the right time. And number 5, go to sleep. Let's say, for example, that you have an important appointment at 10 o'clock in the morning, at which time you must make a momentous decision. You are calling upon your creative mind this evening to help you make the right decision. After you have progressed through the routine given above, merely turn the whole thing over to your creative mind, knowing that before 10 o'clock tomorrow, you will have the answer. You'll be amazed to find what will happen. Tomorrow morning, you will awaken and find your thoughts coming into your consciousness as to what you should do. And with this knowledge will be the reasons why you should take such a step or why you should avoid it. The succession of ideas would be so logical that you would not be able to doubt it. What you have read in this chapter is priceless. Make it a part of your consciousness by rereading it before taking up the next chapter. Will you, please?